When a woman wants you but doesn't say it, the silence is not accidental. It's strategic, emotional, and deeply rooted in the way women are taught to navigate vulnerability. You see, most men are conditioned to look for confirmation in words. We've been trained to believe that desire must be stated plainly, clearly, out loud. But attraction doesn't always work like that, especially for women. Her silence might not be rejection. In fact, more often than not, it's self-protection. Many women grow up learning that showing desire too openly can be dangerous, socially, emotionally, and sometimes even physically. They're taught that initiating too much makes them seem easy, needy, or worse, desperate. So instead of expressing what they feel with words, they speak through subtext, through energy, through patterns of behavior. And for the man who isn't paying attention, who needs it said outright, he'll miss it every single time. But if you begin to listen differently, you'll notice that silence can be a kind of invitation. When she doesn't say she wants you, but she keeps showing up, keeps engaging, keeps responding in ways that aren't quite casual, she's saying something. It's just not in the language you've been trained to recognize. This is where emotional intelligence becomes your greatest asset. You have to be able to feel the shift in her energy, the subtle warmth in her presence, the way her tone softens when you speak, how her gaze lingers a little longer than necessary. These are not accidents. These are expressions of interest delivered in a language of discretion. She may be afraid of rejection. She may not be sure of your intentions. She might still be testing to see if you're the kind of man who can hold space for her feelings without weaponizing them. That's a real fear for many women, because too often, when they express desire, they're met with exploitation instead of respect. So the silence becomes a shield, a way to feel you out without exposing herself fully. And here's the truth. Not every man deserves to hear a woman say it. Not until he's shown that he's grounded enough to recognize what's being said without words. This is not a game. It's not about making things difficult. It's about emotional safety. It's about watching how you respond to the unsaid before she decides to reveal more. The question is, can you listen beneath the silence? Can you see her even when she's not putting it into sentences? Can you be intuitive enough, aware enough, still enough to notice that what isn't being said is often louder than anything that is? That's what separates the boys from the men. The man who waits for her to say it plainly will always be a few steps behind. But the man who sees it before she says it, the man who doesn't force her to say it, but makes her feel safe enough to want to, that's the man she remembers. One of the most overlooked signs that a woman secretly wants you is this: she finds subtle ways to be around you. It might not look like much on the surface, just a chance encounter here, a friendly drop in there. But when these coincidences start piling up, you're not dealing with randomness. You're witnessing intention dressed up as convenience. This is where so many men go wrong. We expect attraction to be loud, obvious, direct. We think if she wants us, she'll make some grand gesture, send a flirty message, or initiate something clear and undeniable. But in reality, women who desire you in secret rarely make the first move outright. Instead, they create opportunities, small, seemingly casual moments that allow them to be near you without exposing too much. That's not a lack of confidence. It's calculated vulnerability. Think about it. If she enters a room and gravitates toward your side of the space, if she laughs just a bit louder when you're within earshot, if she suddenly starts showing up in places you didn't expect, those are not meaningless. She's testing the waters. She's saying, I want to be in your orbit, without saying a single word. Why does she do this? Because proximity creates possibility. By being near you, she's not just hoping for a spark. She's watching how you respond to her presence. Do you notice? Do you engage? Do you pull her in or keep her at a distance? She's giving you just enough to lean in without putting herself at emotional risk. Now, here's the key Women don't just seek proximity for physical reasons. It's emotional. When she wants to be around you, she's not always looking for a touch or a compliment. She's seeking experience. She wants to feel how it is to be near your energy, how you make her feel when she's not obligated to speak, perform, or impress. And if she keeps returning to that space, it means that on some level, her craving is real, even if she hasn't figured out what to do with it yet. A woman who secretly wants you but doesn't say it will use space and presence as her language. It's her way of inching closer without declaring it outright, because declaring it changes everything. It shifts the power dynamic. It makes her vulnerable to rejection or misinterpretation. So instead, she lets her actions speak, carefully, quietly, but intentionally. What's required from you is discernment, not over-eagerness, not confrontation, just calm, quiet awareness. Notice the pattern. Reflect on her behavior over time. Is she always finding a reason to be where you are? Is her presence becoming a rhythm, not a coincidence? The man who picks up on this, not with arrogance, but with grounded clarity, has a powerful advantage. He sees what most overlook. He understands the delicate balance between desire and restraint, and he knows that the loudest invitations often come without words. So pay attention to where she chooses to be. Because when a woman keeps finding her way into your world, she's not just passing through, she's telling you exactly where she wants to be. The body always speaks before the mouth does. That's one of the most consistent truths in human behavior. And it's especially true when it comes to attraction. When a woman secretly wants you but doesn't want to say it, her body often betrays her silence. Not in grand, theatrical gestures, but in the quiet, unconscious language of instinct. Here's what many men fail to realize. Desire is first and foremost a physical experience. Before the mind processes it, before it becomes a thought or a confession, it moves through the body. A glance held a second too long, a quick adjustment in posture, a subtle lean toward you in a group setting. These aren't just meaningless habits. They're micro signals of unspoken interest. And here's the paradox. Most women are aware, at least to some extent, that their body might give them away. So they'll often try to mask it, dial it back, neutralize their expressions. But the body has a rhythm of its own, and when desire lives under the surface, it leaks out in ways she can't always control. Her eyes might wander toward you when she thinks you're not looking. Her voice might shift slightly, softer, warmer. When she's addressing you, she may tuck her hair, fidget with her hands, or adjust her clothes in your presence. Even if the rest of the room doesn't get that version of her. These are not superficial details. They are reflexes driven by chemistry and vulnerability. Her body is responding to the space between you, whether she wants to admit it or not. And your job isn't to react impulsively or make it awkward. It's to observe, to receive, to notice the difference between how she interacts with you and how she engages with others. Now let me be clear. Just because a woman is warm or friendly doesn't automatically mean she wants something more. That's where discernment is essential. But when you combine her body language with patterns of proximity, emotional openness, and behavioral consistency, it paints a very different picture. This is what emotionally intelligent men understand. Attraction isn't always expressed in words because words carry weight. Words require ownership, and sometimes she isn't ready to own what she feels. Maybe she's unsure how you'll respond. Maybe she's afraid to misread you. Or maybe she's wrestling with her own internal conflict, wanting something but not knowing if she's allowed to pursue it. So instead, she lets her body speak. Carefully, subconsciously, hoping you're someone who can read between the lines without needing her to spell it out. If you want to know whether a woman secretly wants you, don't just listen to what she says. Watch how she behaves when you enter a room. Notice the shift in her energy, the spark in her gaze, the tilt of her body. These things don't lie, and they certainly don't show up for just anyone. Sometimes, The loudest confessions come in complete silence. And the man who learns to read the body, not just the words, will always be one step ahead, not just in love, but in life. There's a kind of access that a woman gives you when she's secretly drawn to you. An emotional doorway that most people never get close to. And when she opens that door just enough for you to peek inside, even without saying anything, it's not random. It's a calculated risk. Because sharing space is one thing, but emotional access, that's sacred, that's selective. When a woman secretly wants you, one of the clearest signs is that she begins to give you pieces of her world that she doesn't give to others. You'll notice it not in dramatic declarations, but in quiet permissions. She tells you about her past, not the version she gives to everyone, but the deeper layers, the parts that hurt, the dreams she's afraid to say out loud. She lets you see her without the mask, if only for a moment. She may start involving you in her daily life in subtle ways, sending you songs that made her think of you, asking for your opinion on things that matter to her, updating you on her day even when she doesn't need to. These are not casual acts. They're tiny signals that say, you matter more than you think. Most women do not give emotional access to just anyone. They guard their inner world. And rightly so. Vulnerability comes with risk. Risk of being misunderstood, minimized, or taken advantage of. So when she lets you in, it's because on some level, she feels safe with you. She's allowing connection without fully admitting that's what she's doing. Because once again, saying it outright exposes her. But letting you closer, that's manageable. That's her way of staying in control while still nurturing the bond. This is where you need to become very aware of timing and emotional calibration. A woman who gives you emotional access but hasn't admitted her attraction is moving in that fragile space between curiosity and caution. She's inviting closeness but watching how you handle it. Will you rush in and overwhelm her? Or will you respect the pace she's setting? The man who handles this space with patience, presence, and maturity often becomes the man she eventually chooses. Now, it's easy to miss these signs if you're looking for something louder, if you're only tuned in to physicality or overt flirtation. But true connection happens below the surface. When she starts confiding in you, when she chooses your voice above others, when she gives you access to her thoughts without you asking. That's intimacy. And it's far more telling than any compliment or glance. The reason so many men overlook this sign is because they don't yet understand that emotional intimacy is often the first stage of female desire. Before anything physical, she wants to know that you get her, that you see her, that you value her not just for what she looks like, but for what she carries inside. So when a woman gives you special access, don't minimize it. Don't ignore it. And don't pressure her to name it. Just recognize it for what it is, a doorway she's opened, quietly hoping you're the kind of man who won't walk through it carelessly. Not every connection is spoken. Some are felt. And if you're wise enough to honor the quiet depth she shares with you, you'll start to see the truth behind her silence. She wants you. She's just not ready to say it yet. Here's where many men lose the moment. They see the signs, feel the energy, maybe even recognize that a woman is secretly drawn to them, and then they say it. They call it out. They name the attraction too early. And just like that, the connection shifts. The dynamic changes. What was once quiet magic becomes confrontation. And in most cases, it fades. You see, when a woman is operating in that delicate space between secrecy and desire, the last thing she wants is exposure. Not because she's playing games, but because her feelings are still in the incubation stage. She's still testing the waters. She's still measuring safety. And when you put a spotlight on what she's keeping in the shadows, you strip her of the very control that made her feel comfortable opening up in the first place. That's what a lot of men don't realize. It's not that she doesn't want to be seen. It's that she wants to be seen gently, subtly. She wants to feel like you understand her cues without forcing her to translate them into words before she's ready. That's emotional intelligence. That's masculine restraint. And ironically, that restraint is what makes her feel even more drawn to you. When you call it out too soon, I know you want me. I can tell you're into me. Why don't you just admit it? You think you're being bold, but really you're creating discomfort. You're taking her unspoken invitation and turning it into a demand. And no one responds well to pressure dressed up as confidence. The truth is, there's a difference between being direct and being disruptive. Being direct is powerful when the foundation has been laid, when there's mutual clarity, when she's already shown signs of emotional safety. But when desire is still unspoken, naming it doesn't accelerate connection. It sabotages it. Because it's never just about attraction. It's about timing. A woman can desire you and still walk away if she feels emotionally rushed. What she's looking for isn't just your interest, it's your attunement. Can you feel where she's at emotionally? Can you mirror her pace? Respond to her cues and allow her the space to arrive at her own clarity. This is what separates emotionally aware men from emotionally impulsive ones. It's not about how quickly you can claim her. It's about how confidently you can hold space for her uncertainty, knowing that desire often grows stronger in the presence of patience. So don't ruin the rhythm by naming the dance too early. Trust the silence. Let the energy speak. And understand that when you act like you already have her before she's offered herself, you shift the balance of power, and not in your favor. Sometimes the most attractive thing a man can do is not say it. Just know it. Feel it. Let it breathe. The man who can sense attraction and still stay grounded, who doesn't chase confirmation, but embodies presence, will always be more powerful than the one who needs to hear it out loud. A high-value man doesn't need validation to move with certainty. He doesn't chase confessions, nor does he corner someone into revealing feelings they're not ready to share. Instead, he observes, understands, and responds, not from insecurity, but from grounded self-awareness. That's the difference. That's the shift. And that's exactly how a high-value man handles hidden desire. The truth is, if you're constantly seeking verbal confirmation, if you need a woman to say she wants you before you believe it, you've already lost the subtle power that comes with emotional mastery. Attraction isn't something you force into the open. It's something you allow to unfold. And that unfolding happens best in the presence of calm, self-assured masculinity. A woman who secretly wants you is already in a vulnerable position, even if she's playing it cool on the outside. She's battling her own internal fears of rejection, of judgment, of losing control. And the moment you try to pry open her desire, to extract it prematurely, she retreats. Not because she doesn't feel something, but because now you've made it about your ego. You've made it about needing proof, when all she really wanted was to feel safe enough to let her guard down. But the man who doesn't need to hear it, who simply knows intuitively, through her energy, her presence, her patterns, he becomes the rare one, the one she doesn't have to perform for, the one she doesn't feel pressured to explain herself to. And that's the man she opens up to in time, not because he asked her to, but because he earned that space through patience and presence. You see, a high-value man doesn't confuse silence with rejection. He doesn't rush what needs space. He allows tension to build without needing to control it. And in doing so, he becomes the gravitational force in the dynamic. He lets the woman move at her pace, and instead of chasing or pulling, he becomes the constant, unmoving, observant, present. That's what creates real attraction, not pressure, not pursuit, presence. She notices this. She notices the way you hold yourself when she draws close and then pulls away. She sees that you don't flinch, that you don't become needy or reactive. And in that stillness, she finds her own clarity. You become the mirror she wasn't expecting. A man who doesn't need to conquer her, but one who sees her without agenda. That's what makes you magnetic. That's what earns trust. Not loud declarations, but quiet strength. And over time, that silent confidence becomes more attractive than any compliment, more powerful than any chase. So the next time you sense a woman wants you, but isn't ready to say it, don't push. Don't question. Don't call it out. Just hold your ground. Stay centered. Let her move toward you in her own time, because when you master the art of restraint, you stop waiting for the moment and start becoming the reason it happens. Stillness is not weakness, it's mastery. And the man who can hold space without needing words will always be the one who hears them first when they finally matter.